maybe. But anyway, there I am with my plank. My cousin Pete, with all his homies, are now running down the beach with their little stick in tow, leash on the ankle, and they hop in the water and start paddling out. When the waves are coming in, you do what's called a duck dive. You go underneath the wave, and you keep paddling. Because if you've ever been in the ocean before, you will know that if you don't know how to duck dive, even if you're just swimming, and you're standing there, like if you're standing in the water, and the waves are big, and you're just like, I'm gonna defeat the wave today. You recognize very quickly how small you are, and how powerless you are. And the wave proceeds to hit you in the chest and knock you back, and if they're big enough, you're in like a washing machine cycle being turned upside down, and panic can set in. Fear. Anxiety. Because we're not created to survive under H to the 2 to the O. So anyway, there I am with my plank. My cousin and his boys are already out on the water. They're out past the break, which is where the waves break, and so now they're catching waves. Again, profound thought number 2. And anyway, I am now approaching the water. I'm on the board and I'm paddling. Paddling. Waves are coming towards me. Not good. What happens is that the first wave hits me, the board proceeds to slide right out from underneath me. It's stuck to me, attached by my ankle on a rope, because that's the leash and that's what that does, so you don't lose it. But now it is dragging me, right? So now I'm being pulled backward, so the wave has hit me. I'm in bad shape. Somehow, someway, by God's grace, I make it out past the break. By this point, I am now limp on that board. I can't breathe. Water is like lapping up on the plank that I'm on, and I'm like half water, half oxygen. I'm just not even happy. You start asking, why am I even doing this? What has brought me here? I hate to ask. For those of you who are leaving, I just will tell you, I don't know. I just beg your patience to stick by. But cool. It's very appropriate that people are leaving. Cool, we'll get into that in just a minute. So check it. Board. Not in my element. My cousin Pete, on his stick, is now paddling, and when the set wave, which is the biggest wave coming in, when the set wave comes, Pete starts yelling the phrase over and over again, "You gotta want it." But it wasn't like that. You gotta want it! And he is digging into the wave. Like, the wave is coming, and now he has turned his board around, and as the wave is coming, mounting bigger and bigger, Pete is now paddling and digging in that water. He is so excited. Me, on the other hand, this is what happens. Pete says to me, "Matthew, you've made it out. When the waves are coming in, and the big wave comes, turn the board around." I'm like, "Pete, I'm on the QE2. It's going to take me 30 minutes to turn the board around." So he says to me, "Well, Matthew, turn it around now. Just get on it now. Start it now." So I start turning this board around. Here comes the wave, and it has my name on it, according to Pete. I don't see my name anywhere along the way. But I'm looking back, this thing is mounting, and I will tell you honestly, it is rare as a grown man that I cry out for mommy. Very rare. Did it as a kid, it had been a while. But as this wave is coming, I'm just thinking to myself, I am going to die. All I want is my mommy. Please, somebody help me. And here's the deal. In our church, what we have a tendency to do, and it's just in Christianity in general, what I see is as a plague, because I fell into it myself, is where we take Jesus out of the picture and replace it with law. Now, we just read in Scripture, if you heard it, that Jesus didn't come to abolish the law, he came to fulfill it. But what we do is we have this tendency to fall into this trap where we replace our head knowledge with experience in Jesus. I love the fact that these two young girls got baptized today, and I couldn't stand sitting there and not being able to see it. Because these two girls, and what was said is, look, keep your eyes on Jesus. Conceptually, we know it, but it's so much easier for us to formulate things. It's so much easier for us if it becomes an equation and our relationship with God merely falls into, well, if I know 2 plus 2 equals 4, then I'm good to go. Meanwhile, you and I have this tendency, if you're anything like myself, I pray you're not, but if you are, this is the tendency, is that you have this battle between the flesh and the spirit. And the battle is warring against each other. We can talk about the great controversy, the cosmic battle, because that's easier. It's out here. When internally we have a battle going on for our soul. And it's the great controversy in here. Oftentimes what happens, if you're anything like myself and you find yourself to be a sinner, Paul calls himself the chief of sinners. If you are able to testify like Paul does that you are a chief or chiefhead sinner, then you will recognize that you have a battle going on. You will recognize that sometimes your flesh, or even oftentimes your flesh, gets the best of you. You will recognize that sometimes the spirit doesn't seem really strong. And sometimes you wonder to yourself, where are you, God? If you really love me, if you really want me to be spending eternity with you, wouldn't you hook me up? Wouldn't you help me out? And what happens for some of us, and this is why statistically, do you know that the average age in the Seventh-day Adventist Church in North America is 58? Do you know that? Let me repeat it again. The average age in our churches, people sitting in the pew like you and I are doing week after week after week, is 58 years old. Do you know that this church was founded by young adults? Do you know that in the beginning stages of this church, God used young adults to get it done? And yet, we have come to this place where we are so complacent in our ways, we're so stuck on tradition, that we're not willing to empower a young adult. And forgive me for my passion here, but it drives me absolutely crazy when I hear people over and over and over again, like these young girls, I'm not saying them exactly, but they're in high school or they go to college, and then once they leave high school or leave college, they graduate from God. Because they say to themselves, this church doesn't speak my language, it's not relevant to me, I don't even understand what the pastor's saying. And if he's as spiritual as he's claiming to be, or if his standard is that high, I will never measure up. And what would it look like? What would it look like if the church became like Jesus? What would it look like if the church, as Tony Campolo says, was a church that threw parties for prostitutes?